Alright guys, welcome to demo and review of the Fender Mustang 2. So I got this at Long & McQuade on rental. Cost me like 15 bucks for the month because retail on this thing is only 150 bucks used, so why not? I've had the Fender Mustang 1 in the past, 8-inch speaker, 8 ohms, 20 watts of power, much smaller physically than this. The Mustang 2 is the exact same amp except for bigger cabinet, 12-inch 8-ohm speaker, and 40 watts of mayhem. Otherwise, the controls are the same, effects are the same, Fender Fuse program, same features. So, you're basically getting the same amp as the Mustang 1, with the exception of a larger cabinet, larger speaker, and twice the wattage output, because the Mustang 1 is only 20 watts. Anyways, you're also getting a lot deeper, richer tones out of this thing, which is nice. Better quality of the sound, the better it is in the long haul, right? Let me just put my guitar up so I'm going to get in front of the camera. Sorry guys. Anyways, I don't know as of yet 100% if I'm going to add this to my collection or not. I've seen a lot of Mustang 2s up for sale used on marketplace, and people want way too much money for what these things actually are. Now this thing is in absolute cherry condition. Like, I don't think the guy ever let it go out of the house, or never let anybody near it except himself. It is that pristine. It's just like it came out of the box, right? I mean, even the original Fender tag is on the amp. Anyways, so with that, I think overall it's a pretty good amp. Now, considering it is the same kind of features as far as the Fender Fuse program goes, which I want to talk a little bit about that one. The Fender Fuse program is no longer available through Fender, nor is any support for this amp apparently either. And there's been a lot of stories going around the internet saying, oh, you can't get the software anymore. Well, If you check the link below in the video box description, you will find the link that you can get not only the manual for this, but Fender Fuse software for both Macintosh and PC computers, as well as the factory presets, and also a file of a bunch of user presets done up by other users. So this way, you know, they've customized some stuff for their own tones, right? It's a modeling amp after all. It is a very limited modeling amp, but it is still a modeling amp just the same. And you can change like cabinet types and whatnot for the sound and so on. And there's a lot of available sounds just in the presets alone that you can mess with. And you can get this to have a nice, sparkling, clean amp sound. In which case, when you do that, throw your own pedals or pedal board on and feel free to have even more fun and get even more out of this amp. Now, I'm not a huge, massive fan of modeling amps myself. I mean, I think that they're great for beginners just starting out, but for, you know, intermediate to advanced players, really? No. You know, they're so limited in what they can do. But I am a very big, huge fan of the Boss Katana because it is not a modeling amp. It doesn't pretend to be another amp. It has its own voice, and it has all the Boss pedal effects and then some built into it. Now, the only drawback to the Katana series amps, even in the Mark IIs, the only drawback is the pedal order chains. Okay? I mean, you only have 4, and in the Mark Is, you only had 3. But otherwise, yeah, you have every single Boss pedal in the collection pretty well anyway. And each time they do a firmware update, we get more toys and, you know, more fixes, etc. So, but the Boss amps are made for beginners right on up through to professional gigging musicians. They're not toys, right? I find a modeling amp, like something like this, in the modeling category, to be more of a toy for beginners. And, you know, maybe somebody who is an intermediate player may like this thing. I mean, if you can get the tones that you're after, then you know what, truth be told, it's your dime. You know what I mean? If it works for you, do it. It's kind of like strings. Everybody says, what are the best strings out there for this brand of guitar? And it's like, there is none, man. You just got it's personal preference. You're going to have to find your own thing because we don't all like the same stuff. And amps are no different to that. You know, I mean, my main amp is an orange 35 RT. And it has 2 channels, distortion and clean. You know, yeah, sure, it's got a built-in tuner too. So does this one. Yeah, it's, you know, got a, you know, what do you call it there? Actually, yeah, that's about it. It's got a built-in tuner. It's clean and dirty. Oh yeah, it's got built-in reverb if you want to use it. But I use my Boss ME80 pedal board with that amp. I don't bother with the dirty channel. Why? Because dirty channels on amps tend to always suck. Unless it's that actual sound you're looking for, which is pretty rare, they suck. But Fender did a decent job to a certain point on the original Mustang series. But the software is very limited on what it can do. You cannot have 2 stomp pedals. You can have a stomp box pedal, which you get to choose from quite a few of them. Same as your modulation effects and your delay pedals and your reverb pedals. But you only get 4 of, you know, you get 1 of each type, right? But you still only get 4 that you can use, and it's like, okay, I can't do a whole lot with 4 pedals here, like seriously. Anyways, you know, so it does have some really stringent limitations on it, so I can kind of see why the line somewhat failed in the end and became discontinued. The new Mustang series amps are somewhat impressive. I've actually rented out a, I believe it was the LT25 if I remember right. Anyway, not a bad little amp either for the next new series. But these things are extinct dinosaurs. If you can find one that's in great shape, used, I mean, in pristine condition in Canada along McQuaid, this is a $150 amp. And they're selling a Mustang 1 in really awesome condition for $100. Now, I thought about it later. I should have actually rented the Mustang 1 as well, so I could do a side-by-side comparison. But you know what? I've got the Mustang 1 on my channel already, so hey, why not? With the Mustang 2 here, with double the horsepower, that's a lot more headroom, especially on clean tones, never mind your dirty stuff, before the amp has its own natural breakup. So more wattage is beneficial. as is a bigger speaker for more output volume, for airflow, and, you know, just main sound period. And the quality of the sound is always so much better on a bigger speaker anyway. So, and it is a closed back enclosure, the same as the Mustang one is. You know, I mean, things didn't really change until they got to the higher end Mustangs, where you have the little digital board on there and all the other presets and stuff. I mean, they became a little crazy. And even those things are extinct now too. But regardless of the fact, for 150 bucks, I think it's a fantastic deal for this thing. I would definitely recommend it if it's something you're looking to get into. And if you're just, you know, wanting to get your feet wet at least, it's a cheap way to do it. Because let's face it, a Katana, you're talking almost $370 for the 50 watt and almost 500 bucks for the 100 watt. And of course they do have the Artist Series and so on. But for this thing for 150 bucks, I mean, it's a great deal. I bought actually 2 of the Mustang ones originally, and I've had 3 or 4 of them all together. But for a while I used a pair of them just on clean channels as PA speakers for the studio, because at that time I couldn't afford reference monitors. So hey, I really wasn't overly impressed, you know, to the you know, stage of, oh, this is a great amp, yeah, you know. It was pretty decent, but it did a better job as a PA speaker to me. So this one though definitely does impress with more wattage, so that's more headroom, cleaner at higher levels, bigger speaker, of course, bigger cabinet, with the exact same sound capabilities, exactly the same. It does sound a lot better, you know, with that bigger cabinet and bigger speaker, more wattage. So there is something to be said about that. You know, go big or go home. Sometimes you kind of need to, especially if the smaller house really isn't that great in the end anyways, you know. It's kind of like buying a Marshall amp, you know. If you buy a little 15, 30 watt amp, I mean, they're not bad, you can get by, but there's nothing that beats a 100 watt stack, let's face it. You know, I had a half stack system once and 100 watt, it was way too loud for this studio, but hey, it was pretty cool, you know. And I've had a number of Marshall amps too over the years. But I've had lots of amps, I've had lots of gear. Now, I have to be fair, you know, in all fairness, okay, for what this thing is, for what it can do, etc. It's got some limitations, obviously, right? But you can get a really good, super clean sound on this and use your own pedal board or your own pedals with it, and it is fabulous at that point, okay? I mean, that's what makes it fabulous. So you can program the amp for that. Now, there is no mid-range control on the amp itself. You've got bass and treble, you've got volume, which is your main volume, you've got your gain control, and you've got a master, okay? And then of course you have your modulation area and your delay area, etc., right? And of course that built-in tuner, which I wouldn't trust the tuner if my life depended on it, because yeah, I'm not even a huge fan of the tuner in my orange amp, but it actually works better than the tuner in this one, so there's something to be said there. Anyway, but I have to be fair, and you guys want star ratings, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. And I think that's definitely fair. With a recommendation that if this is something you are looking for, by all means. Now just be aware, you have to go to that link in the video description below if you want to get the software for this so that you'll be able to program this thing the way you want to. Now I'm currently running Windows 10 on an old Acer laptop that used to be a Windows 7 top end only thing, but I got 10 to run on it and found 10 drivers for it, so it does work fine with Fender Fuse under the latest version of Windows 10. Likely will not work under 11, but hard to say. I have no way of testing that. Now, also the Mac drivers, I mean, there's going to be some limitations on the Mac OS version. I don't know. I mean, I have an M1 Mac, so I am about 99% sure Fender Fuse is not going to work with my M1, and I could really care less to try, because it does have an installer even for the Mac side, and uninstalling programs from the Mac that run an actual installer, there's a lot of stuff that gets put through the OS, just like a Windows machine in that sense, and you'll never find all the bits and pieces. So you need an uninstall program, which is going to cost you money to get a decent one to rip out all the pieces. And I don't have one of those so I'm not going to install the software on my Mac. But I will show you the Fender Fuse software in a separate video on how to program this thing with the Fender Fuse software. Because the only thing I got Fender Fuse on my channel right now was how to get a clean channel out of the Mustang 1. So I will walk you through the Fender Fuse software on the PC side, because it will be identical to the Mac. But I'll have to do some reading up in the manual to find out the version of the Mac OS it's going to work with. But I am most certainly sure it is not going to work with Monterey, let alone working with an M1 processor. It's more than likely it's not going to. So, but hey, if you want to give it a shot, let us know in the comments below if you do buy one of these things and Fuse does work on the M1 and what OS you're running, OS version, which is only going to be 2 right now, Big Sur or Monterey, until Ventura gets released this fall. Anyways, so that's what I got for you guys. So short little demo, just banging out some chords, giving you an idea of the sounds built in. It's all it's there for. You know, I'm not here to impress you with playing AC/DC or Judas Priest. I'm here to just show you the sounds of the amp to give you an idea what you're kind of in for here. But anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think. You know, would this be something that you'd want? I mean, I don't know. I'm still kind of, I really don't need the amp, but I wanted to rent it to get it on my channel because I do have the Mustang 1. And if I find other Mustangs that are available that I can rent, that Long McQuaid might come across, then I'll likely rent those and do reviews and demos on those in the near future. And we can take it from there. But otherwise, I want to try and stay more current with gear these days. So, but yeah, I think overall, it's a pretty decent little amp. But I do feel that it's going to shine its best with that kind of horsepower if you program a perfectly clean amp, throw your own pedals or pedal processing board on, and go to town that way. Then I would say, yeah, it would be great for gigging at that point, or doing busking, or what have you. It does have that, you know, and it does have some neat presets in it that can be usable for a lot of things, you know, but it's got some that are kind of, you know, weird, but hey, any of these things do. Alright guys, that's what I got for you today. Thanks so much for watching. Stop in. I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll be sure to catch you on the next one. See ya.